Hello, this is Vinita Deshmukh, editor of the Corporate Citizen magazine. Today we are honored to have Mrs. Annapurna, who is the HR head, a thought leader of FIM, which is a French multinational company based out of Bangalore. So today let us get an insight into the entire talent acquisition, the recruitment, the human resources that's trending these days in the corporate world. Ma'am, the first question is the talent acquisition. How do you acquire the human resources? How do you retain them? And how do you get the top notch people to work for you?
Thank you, Vinita. It is a sheer pleasure to be again getting interviewed by Corporate Citizen. It had been some couple of years that I had been with you. Thank you for this opportunity again. And coming back to the question, I think there is no one mantra, I would say. And every organization, small or big, is facing this crunch of the talent. And hunting the right talent for the right man and the right job is something which is like a dream. It's just not something which anyone is able to achieve it, I would say this. And having said that, with the advent of the technology, the change of the technology, and especially in the sector what we are, I come from a fintech, and we are in a very niche sector. We're in a payments, gateways, testing and solutions. And with this being very niche, it becomes very difficult for us to actually hunt talent because our landscape is very little. And getting the right kind of people becomes even more difficult for us. But what we have done is a couple of initiatives we have taken.
So, could you tell us what are those initiatives?
One of the initiatives what we have taken is we have started tying up with campuses, and what we do is to take fresh engineers for just any branches.
Okay.
They are not ready for our industry, which is what we know, but then basically they have analytical skills and they have some kind of software knowledge. Either they are trained in some of software core developing knowledge, development technical course knowledge, or they're in the testing fields. These people are done with all the basic assessments and they are hired on a 4 month of internship. Okay, and during that time is what we give complete training, end-to-end training for them, and make them ready. And it's just not only the training of the theory, it is a practical training and on the job with clear-cut mentorship and things like that. So at the end of 4 months, they are ready to kickstart on the projects.
That's very interesting.
And
You want to add something more?
yeah.
Yeah.
That has been one of the channel for us to pipeline the talent. This is I'm telling you the junior talent.
Right.
In the mid and senior, it is again a tough journey again there to getting to people. So what we ideally do is we have started one more is identifying people who are at the junior levels but have really gotten potential that they have really got potential talent. So we started giving them opportunities to move up its ladders. These are some of the things which we have calibrated, I would say, which is working fine, but still the talent crunch or the talent journey is still on.
So, as I understand, fintech companies being new, you have got a new set of challenges to meet for employees. And so earlier, we used to talk about VUCA before COVID came in, and then we had COVID. You have rather this niche focus on this fintech. So, does it mean that students who have done MBA, they were not relevant to your field?
No, absolutely not at all like that. They are even MBA students are doing it. That's MBAs can come with sales. They can come in with finance segments. They can come in marketing. They can come in pre-sales. They can come in analytics. Okay, HR, operations, or program managements. All of those still opportunity are there because those departments are not going to there. Those functions are not going there.
Right.
The technology is there. Technical workforce is there. But everything has to be part of it.
Right.
MBA is also a part of our organization.
So you just mentioned that you give them on the ground training for 4 months. So does that mean that in spite of the engineering that is studied in the academic institutions or maybe even the MBA, is there a big divide or a gap rather when they come to you? So can you elaborate on that?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I would say that today's curriculums are not industry ready. Because curriculums cannot be changed again and again, year and after year, based on the industry's needs. That's also difficulty of the academia. So academia, what it does is it gives some kind of value-add courses, but it can't give value-add courses for each industry. Again, there is a pool, or when there's a requirement, it pulls up all those and then gives offer certain courses and all. But for us, it's very difficult because the segment being very smaller. So the absorption of these students is a very small amount. So industry wants such kind of resources, but we will not be able to still get it from the academia. But one such initiative, National Payment Corporation of India has taken, it has tied up with various institutes. Plus, there's one institute called MAHE, the Manipal Institute of Higher Learning, where they've done some kind of collaboration. So it is still at the very starting level, but it's still yet to go, because payments as such, getting someone market ready.
Yeah, right. So tell us, like, you do spend a lot of time and energy on the youngsters who intern with you or are come at the very basic level. So what is the level of attrition? Do you face that?
Definitely not so much. Earlier it was, but now what we have done is we have taken care for them to see that they grow well with the organization. So one is like after 4 months of training, when they're doing very well, they come and they get absorbed and they get into projects, and if they're really potential. So it is not a time-bound elevation for anyone. If the person has potential, if the person has the right skills, can take up, can showcase leadership in their areas, that talent is well recognized and moving forward.
So would you say that that's what many corporate leaders have told me during the interview or even in conferences, that today the corporate world after COVID has become employee centric. To ask you further is earlier the employers, it was a hierarchy, but today the employees are seen with more compassion and with more understanding by the employers or the HR department, and the HR department is working towards making it people friendly. So could you elaborate on this?
Sure. So COVID is one of the big black swan event. None of us have been through such a kind of catastrophe at any point of our lives, which definitely has given great learning for all of us. And from this event, I think, yes, one major thing is for everybody, which we have learned out of it, is that a moment can change or can create upside downs in our lives.
Right.
And to that extent, the devastation has happened with human life.
Right.
That is something which brought a lot of empathy, compassion towards employees and workplaces, I could say. And that compassion is most required even before also, but that has not given that kind of importance. But at least at this point of time, employee-friendly policy, or understanding the employees' needs, or giving them some flexibilities, or making them as a partner for creating policies, procedures, processes is now on the highest rate.
That's really interesting. So during talent acquisition, what are the characteristics or qualities you see in a candidate? Is it the best B school? Is it any personal performances or aptitude, attitude? What is it that you see?
You actually told the last word. Okay. The best B school may be okay, fine, the pedigree is fine, everything we are having ranks, everything is fine. The best aptitude is fine, but we have seen many times that the best of the best aren't supplied in all types of environments.
I see.
So the kind of person who could survive, the one who could bring in a lot of great attitude to work is it's not only at the beginning stage, it's towards the entire stage. How the person is able to cope up with different situations. Is he or she calm enough? Are they able to express their learning abilities? Are they able to be open enough, to learn or to grasp things? And how do they communicate? How do they articulate their ideas? And how do they actually collaborate? Are they helpful? That's very important because it's the type of organization, each one should be very helpful. And we are working in a global landscape, not something that I may be only doing my projects within the next sitting person. I may be working with lot of stakeholders who are placed across the globe. So I cannot have some boundaries by telling that, hey, I can't work at this point of time, or I can't explain someone who's thing and things like that. So what is flexibility? Are you flexible? Are you open enough? Are you ambitious? This I see many of students or many of the people coming back and telling, what's your ambition? They could express it in different ways, but we find that ambition dying off or the passion dying off very soon. So we would like to see people, having their ambition, very flexible, open to learning, adaptable. These are some of the things which definitely are the key parameters, which we might not really articulate or put it back, see, but that goes untold. When the panels move, people give us feedback by telling that looks like this guy is very rigid, is good, looks like this guy is stopped his learning. You don't figure it out that he's learned anything in the past for the last 1 month or last year. How do you think that they might be able to handle? He or she has not been to global stakeholders, projects or something. How do he or she understand different cultures? So these are something which come back as some feedback. So this feedback is very important from the hiring managers, understanding that quickly. This is something which is very niche to our area. This is something which we wanted. Our talent should possess. So these are some of the themes which really highlight as to how do we get that.
Very interesting. Could you tell us, how do you see the fintech sector in the next 5 years?
There is no other industry which will grow like fintech. Recently, there was a Global Fintech Fest in Bombay, and which has put India on a very higher map, and a lot of promises. And the government is also trying to do lots and lots. And if you walk in today, I think your experience, my experience is no one carries cash in it.
Absolutely.
Cash is something which people see that why are you carrying cash? No one carries a paper. So everything is getting digitized. Instant and digitization and digital payment segments, everything and all. Now, ma'am, it would be that you would carry either a spec or a watch or something, one of the bio wearable where you could do entire transaction. See, yes, there could be biometric coming up. There could be so much of innovation which is happening in this field. So this field and this sector will revolutionize everything. And India would be on a very big map because India has already taken a leap. Definitely. Also, definitely, this is one booming sector which people could see apart from the semi-direct.
That's really fascinating. Even I didn't know that. So, last question is, what is the philosophy of life you live by? In 2-3 sentences. Maybe you have been asked this question earlier.
For me, a couple of things are very passionate and they drive me every day. One is I keep a very lively day with full of activities. Starting from 4 a.m. in the morning because my day starts. When I have my time for some 1 hour or so, then I do my house chores. I do everything with a lot of interest and very, very nicely. If I'm cooking, I cook it with it at night.
Yes, yeah.
And then I go to office and I dress it nice so that it's all that.
Yes.
And things like that. The other thing which moves me always is two things which I definitely do is I am in the child empowerment. And for me, it's very important that every girl get education. I have been doing a little bit on that space. And the second thing is I would like to see that the entire world is emotionally literate. So today we don't find emotional literacy as a big thing. And that is where the entire globe is falling apart. So we can have AI rising its bar. At the same time, if there is no emotional
Human emotional intelligence.
and that's where they fall apart.
Yes.
This is where is my investment and my purpose and my life.
So interesting. A very insightful interview. Thank you very much.